An ordinary boy born on a coastal dock, who was born with the ability to condense the souls of deceased people into cards, went from being liked by everyone at the beginning to being feared by everyone at the end. His father and brother turned into cards one after another because of Liang Yu's ability, and the people at the dock threw Liang Yu into the sea. However, surprisingly, Liang Yu had a mysterious resonance with the mysterious necklace gifted by Uncle Liu due to the vortex at the bottom of the sea. What kind of sparks can his abilities ignite in the world of the Game King's card story when transmitted? Chapter 1. The Mysterious Power. You are listening at novelfull.audio. You desire for divine power beyond the mortal realm. The ability to transform the soul of any dead life into its own combat power. And it is precisely because this divine power, which almost drives everyone crazy, has turned into a piercing knife for me. Bit by bit, open up my already fragile heart, hurt my deeply loved family, let the originally harmonious order fall apart. It's ridiculous that this force made me see everything clearly. Let me witness the changes in the expressions in the eyes of countless people before I die. Some people feel regretful, some people are crazy, some people don't care at all. Sure enough, the human heart is truly wonderful. My name is Liang You, born on a small fishing boat in a coastal area. Uncle Liu from my harbor said that when I was born, the originally turbulent sea water calmed down due to my crying. Even the huge sea fish stopped struggling, and my father, who was originally trapped by the shark pack, returned safely. Everyone believes that I am a blessing from the sea god to these suffering sailors, and a shared pride of the entire dock. My father is also very proud of this, and his slightly yellow-stained big teeth are often exposed. A weathered face often wears a smile. It may be due to psychological issues. It is also possible that due to the favor of the sea god, my father's voyage to the sea has become smoother since then. From then on, when I grew up to the age of 12, I often went to sea with my brother and father when I was young. Speaking of my brother, Liang Yi. He is a warm big boy, and in my impression, he has always been that sunny. I really enjoy going out to sea with him. Because he will take me to catch jellyfish. This was my favorite thing to do when I was a child. Meanwhile, the people at the dock also liked him very much. Because he often helps everyone, if adults have any small matters, they will coincidentally choose to seek help from Liang Yi. Of course, after helping out, everyone will also give various seafood products to Liang Yi. What kind of rare seafood, common seafood, and homemade pastries brought by going to sea. Some people also give small items they make or buy themselves. Of course, if you want to pick it up, it will take some effort, and most people have to go to their homes to pick it up. With so many people helping, there will be more gifts to receive, and one must not be able to get busy alone. Every time it happens, my mother and I have to go together to help, and we are always very happy when we encounter such things. But my dad always has a strange temper. Every time I encounter this, my dad gets so angry that his beard stands up. I dare say that if there's another sea breeze, my dad's beard will have to fly backwards. But just thinking about it, I understand that my dad might think it would be better to save that time and go out to sea with him. But it's not that my brother doesn't want to go out to sea with him, it's just that my dad likes to drink at night when he's happy, and most likely he won't be able to go out the next day. You say, who can be blamed for this? Speaking of which, my dad helped with carrying things. My dad would grumble angrily while carrying things, trouble my family Liang Yi every day. He's not a laborer, he borrows and borrows things, and he just gives me this little thing. How stingy. After speaking, he looked at Uncle Liu, who was about to walk away, and shouted, "Hey! Old Liu, lend me your modified boat and play with it for 2 days. Oh my, it won't be damaged by you. Don't worry." As he spoke, he ran towards Uncle Liu with a big fish in his hand and smiled, saying, "I can lend you Liang Yi for a few days." My brother, my mother, and I had to smile and shake our heads in the same place. After all, my father has always had this personality, and it's not surprising. Unfortunately, only a few of us can move back. Do you remember? My favorite time was when I went out to sea with my father. The endless sea seems to be our territory, and we freely swim on it. My brother also takes me to play in the cabin, identifying the various types of seafood that my father salvaged. I remember one time, Liang Yi pointed to a jellyfish inside the water tank and said to me, "This is a jellyfish, it can sting people. It hurts so much, Liang Yu, please don't touch it." Ouch. Before my brother could finish speaking, I, as a young child, had already touched the tentacles of the jellyfish and quickly retracted them. Taking advantage of my brother's visit, the jellyfish seemed to hit and run and swam towards the other side of the water tank. Seeing this, I had to say angrily, "Damn it, you're running so fast." My brother tapped my young head and said, your hands are quick." I covered my slightly painful head while looking at Liang Yi. I said pitifully to Liang Yi, "I look at it, like jelly. I just want to see if it can bounce like jelly." As I spoke, I clicked through the air as if I had clicked on a jelly. Upon seeing this, Liang Yi had no choice but to shake her head in place, with both hands akimbo and helpless as she reached out to me. The father of the bow of the ship rushed over upon hearing the commotion. "What's wrong?" I just heard Liang Yu scream, "Are you okay?" As my father spoke, he squatted down to take care of me as I was young. Lift your head and cast a questioning gaze at Liang Yi. Upon seeing the situation, Liang Yi began to explain to his father. After listening to my brother Liang Yi's description and understanding the situation. Of course, my brother Liang Yi also emphasized my ugliness. After the father finished listening, wiping off the scattered beard on his chin, he smiled and said, You, don't be so careless. Things in the sea are very dangerous. I feel like I didn't finish well. Don't forget to open your arms, hang your hands in the air, and make a funny face on your face. Woo wow. My father threatened me with a low voice, trying to scare me. But unfortunately, I didn't meet his wishes. I smiled and grabbed my father's beard. The tingling sensation brought my father back to normal. Ouch. Why are you so strong, kid? My father's ugliness made me burst out laughing. I smiled and said, "Cut, I'm going to become the captain of a super pirate, I'm not afraid." As he spoke, he crossed his waist and continued, "When I reach my father's majestic age, I won't be afraid of jellyfish either. I see my father won't be stung." After speaking, he looked at the jellyfish with a fierce expression and said, "I want to eat it tonight, cold mixed jellyfish." The jellyfish seemed to be scared and swam towards the other side. After speaking, I skillfully took out a pair of plastic gloves from my father's pocket. It was placed on my slightly immature little hand. Pour it into the water tank. The jellyfish in the water tank tried to escape, but unfortunately the box was too small and I caught it. I laughed heartily and placed the jellyfish on the deck. I crossed my waist and looked down at the jellyfish, saying, "Little jellyfish, have you seen the strength of Captain Liang Yu?" Ha ha ha. My brother and father laughed heartily as they looked at my exaggerated expression. I thought his might had infected others, and I proudly straightened my chest again. I bravely took off my gloves. He poked the flesh of the jellyfish with his hand, carefully avoiding the tentacles. With pride, he said, "The mighty Captain Liang Yu has defeated you, jellyfish soldier. You are already my defeated subordinate." My father looked at me, who was childish, and waved at Liang Yi, saying, "Let's go, Liang Yi. Pack up a bit. Captain Liang Yu is here, there's no problem." After speaking, he turned around and left. Liang Yi smiled and responded, "Got it. Captain Liang Yu continues to fight against the despicable jellyfish soldiers. Let's go first. Believe you, come on." After Liang Yi finished speaking and made a cheering gesture towards me, he ran away. It seems that there are no more people around, and I feel a bit lacking in confidence. As he ran towards his brother's departure, he stuttered and said, "Wait. Wait for me, Captain. I believe the jellyfish soldiers already know they're wrong, wait for me. My adorable posture made my brother Liang Yi turn around and hug me with a smile. He said to me, got it, Captain Liang You. Crew member Liang Yi is ready and waiting for Captain Liang Yu's order to go home. When it came to Liang Yi, I seemed to have confidence again. I gave orders and said, let's go. The warm sunshine shines on us, and our eyes are filled with the brilliance of happiness. After everyone left the deck, the already struggling jellyfish struggled on the deck for a while before stopping. But it didn't turn into an immobile corpse as usual. But it slowly condenses into white light. Transforming into a mysterious energy, it seems to be following the guidance. Subsequently, it turned into little white light and dissipated under the breeze of the sea. Chapter 2. Preparation for Exploration. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Near the dock, on the lighthouse. Uncle Liu looked at the approaching ship in the distance, which was the Liang Long. The ship of Liang Ting, the father of Liang You. As a large ship, there are only a dozen or so ships at the entire dock. For experienced Liu Haibin. Who do these big ships belong to? It can be seen at a glance. Liu Haibin looked at the direction of the Liang Long and muttered softly, with Liang Yu, this child can be considered as a treasure picked up by the old ghost, Liang Ting. Thinking of this, he seemed to have thought of something again and continued to mutter. What's even more infuriating is that he also has a promising Liang Yi. He really envies me. Humph, if I had such a good child, I would definitely be even more proud than him, humph. Liu Haibin smiled at the thought, as if Liang Yu and Liang Yi had truly become his children at this moment. However, he quickly turned his thoughts back to reality. I saw him muttering and walking down. I have returned from the sea, and I need to find an opportunity to talk to him about things. Speaking of which, Liu Haibin seemed to have thought of something and took out the walkie-talkie. Liu Haibin held the walkie-talkie and loudly said inside, hello, hello, can you hear me? Lao Huang, Lao Zhang, give me a reply when you receive it. After speaking, he put down the walkie-talkie and looked at the weathered mechanical watch on his wrist. He adjusted the time and the walkie-talkie in his hand also responded at this moment. I can hear it, I can hear it. Lao Lu, what's wrong? What's up? I'm still eating. Liu Haibin smiled and said to the walkie-talkie with a urging tone, don't eat, Lao Liang too has returned to Hong Kong. Come and help. I heard an answer from the opposite side of the walkie-talkie, okay. He put away his walkie-talkie and walked towards the spot where he had parked the ship. Before long, Liu Haibin boarded the ferry and headed towards the Liang Long. The massive Liang Long slowly sailed into the dock. Following Uncle Liu's guidance, the Liang Long arrived at a conveyor belt and began unloading. Liang Ting and Liang Yi cooperated harmoniously to release goods onto the conveyor belt. On the other end of the conveyor belt are Lao Huang and Lao Zhang from Liu Haibin's mouth, helping to tidy up on the other end. Speaking of which, these four people are also old acquaintances, still playing mahjong together every day. At this moment, Liang Ting noticed that Liu Haibin seemed to be looking at him on the boat, seeming to be pondering something. Liang Ting threw it aside and said to Liu Binhai, Old Liu, what are you looking at? My majestic body is handsome, don't be so fixated. After moving the heavy boxes again, he waved to Liu Haibin and said, get on the boat quickly, drag those boxes of fish fat away, and I'll give them to you. Don't think of my moji shrimp. Speaking while gasping for breath. Liang Ting saw Liu Haibin still standing still in place. Liang Ting continued, why are you still looking at me? Can you let my little son carry you down? Seems to feel insulted. Liu Haibin snapped out of his thoughts and opened his mouth, saying, You. As Liu Haibin was about to speak, he was interrupted by Liang Ting and said, what are you? Don't procrastinate. Is it possible that you, an old bone, can't walk the road anymore? Hurry up. I looked at Liu Haibin, whose face turned green with anger from his father, and smiled. Uncle Liu, come up quickly. I'll secretly give you a few boxes of feathered gilled mackerel that my father caught. My father shouldn't say anything, right? As I spoke, I quietly glanced at my father and brother Liang Yi who were working. My dad looked at me with a playful smile on his face, so angry that his beard stood up again and said, "Okay, you little kid who eats inside out. Turn your elbow out, right?" Uncle Liu looked at my father and smiled as he stood in front of me, saying, "Look at you like this. Learn more from your son and be a big person. Why are you so stingy? It's really true." As he spoke, he smiled at me and said, "Don't imitate your father when you grow up. Look at his stingy demeanor." Saying, still gesturing in the air. I gestured for Liu Haibin to board the ship with me first. As he boarded the ship to pick up goods, he kept recounting how he and my father were when he was young, and how he was so stingy now, asking him every day for a boat to sail. Last month, he also broke his boat and finally repaired it. He also had the audacity to come and borrow some trivial matters. I have always smiled in response to Uncle Liu Haibin's complaints about my father. Suddenly, Uncle Liu stopped his movements and took out a cloth bag from his pocket. The cloth bag is relatively new, with some embroidery on it, so it must be wrapped around a precious item. Uncle Liu slowly opened the cloth bag, layer by layer, covering many layers. As the cloth bag slowly opened, the treasures inside seemed to emit some wonderful light, about to break free from constraints. The entire cloth bag seems to be getting brighter as it is being opened. My attention was completely drawn away. Wait until the cloth bag is fully opened. My gaze fixed firmly on the object lying at the deepest part of the cloth bag. I saw a necklace with a small scissor style lying inside the cloth bag. There are also several blue gemstones set on top, shining with a blue light in the sunlight. Uncle Liu Haibin lowered his voice. He whispered to me, "Liang Wazi, do you think this necklace looks good?" I stared intently at this necklace, as if there was some kind of connection somewhere. As someone who doesn't like jewelry, I actually developed a strong interest in this necklace. "Wow, Uncle Liu, this looks so good. I really like it. Can you give it to me? I'll secretly steal my dad's precious wine for you to drink." "Okay," he blurted out after speaking. I even spoiled Uncle Liu. Due to my low voice, my dad didn't hear me and just sneezed. Whispering softly, "Who's talking bad about me again? It shouldn't be Mr. Liu talking bad about my son again, right?" Uncle Liu Haibin's heart melted as he looked at my pitiful gaze and tone. Uncle Liu Haibin coaxed and said, "Don't bother so much. Tomorrow morning, you can invite your father and brother to my house, and we can go out to sea together. How about that?" Uncle Liu Haibin paused, seemingly pondering something. After a moment, he continued, "As long as you agree, I'll give it to you. If you can't call me, I'll give it to you. Just give it to your dad, okay?" Looking at this cheap bargain, I agreed without hesitation. Fearing that Uncle Liu Haibin would back out, he put the necklace in his pocket and bounced around to help his father and brother. Although it won't help much either. Uncle Liu Haibin shook his head helplessly as he watched my departing figure. Then he smiled and said, "This child is really innocent and playful. I don't know if he still has the ability that was like a sea god blessing when he was a child." Ah. Words are full of helplessness. Uncle Liu walked back while speaking, but it cannot be said that Uncle Liu is a superstitious person. Those who work in this field are more or less superstitious. Just because there is a yellow-skinned monster like a big snake in the nearby sea area, constantly surrounding a small island, it always feels like a little treasure is inside. Not long ago, he even borrowed money from the notorious Dragon and Tiger Gang and bought a treasure map of the small island from the old man who drove to the sea. This further strengthened the decision to explore. I hope that someone like me who is favored by the sea god can make that monster give way and allow Uncle Liu to go in and explore. And this magical necklace was also obtained nearby, apparently due to a small tsunami triggered by this monster. This necklace has a slightly waterproof function, but after Uncle Liu Haiban's testing, it seems to have no actual effect, so he gave it to me as a gift. After all, for him, this necklace is not very valuable and of little use to himself. It's better to be a smooth-sailing person. In the evening, I was playing with this magical necklace and found a mirror. Looking in the mirror, I said I wore the necklace around my neck. I was a bit overjoyed as I looked in the mirror and observed the necklace. It seems like there is still a small glow in the night. I really like it. After spinning a few laps and posing a few more times, I patted my head and muttered, "Why did I forget about this?" Muttering and walking towards the room. Inside the room, my father was drinking happily, which was already his standard upon returning from the sea. I watched my father, who was drinking and boasting about his experiences in the sea with his mother. My mother watched him dance and dance with a strong alcoholic aura, while laughing and taking care of the messy area for him. Abnormal tacit cooperation. Mom said slowly to Liang Ting while taking care of him, "Okay, Captain Liang, you have great powers. But now that your son is back, you can take away your powers. I think your son will have to pass messages to you again." I'm not shocked at all. My mom would guess what I'm doing here because I don't have a festive mood and would just go to my own room to sleep. Coming here is usually just passing messages. I waved my hand to drive away the alcohol smell. He said to my dad, "Dad, Uncle Liu told me to go to his house tomorrow with you and your brother to accompany him on the sea trip. You must go, and he even gave me a necklace as a gift." As I spoke, I waved the scissor-shaped necklace in my hand at him. My dad said in a daze, "Show me some." I saw the situation but immediately put it away. I stepped back and said, "No, this is what Uncle Liu gave me. You can't take it away from me like before." My dad seemed a bit unhappy when he heard that I was unwilling to give. He said, You've been studying hard with Uncle Liu. I'm sure he wouldn't give anything good even if he's an iron rooster. Tell me about you, just a necklace was sent away. It's really just that. I'll go find him tomorrow and make some mistakes." As he spoke, he took a sip of wine and said, "Did he say where to go?" After thinking for a moment, I shook my head and said, "No, he just said to go find him early tomorrow morning." As soon as my father heard it, he said, "You kid, you don't know anything about anything, so you agreed. We can't just clean up your father and me. We have to peel off the skin from old Liu's head tomorrow." Mother saw the situation and said, You cooperated with Brother Liu when you were young. Can he still trick you? You drank too much today and can't go out to sea by yourself tomorrow. It's also great to let Brother Liu sail. You can prepare to go to bed early later, and I'll make some sobering soup for you." My mother was about to leave when she said to me and my brother, "You guys should rest early too. You still have work tomorrow. I'll take care of all the mess your father has caused." My dad was about to say, My mother interrupted, "What am I? Sit still, wait for me, don't drink." After speaking, we turned around because my dad was talking and said, "What are you guys looking at? Go back and rest, go to bed early, don't play around, do you hear me?" My brother and I spoke in unison and said, "Okay Mom, I know." After laughing at each other, they closed the door and left. My mother looked at the direction we were leaving, smiled, and walked towards the kitchen. Only the sentence fell. The mischievous brothers and the restless child's father. At this point, my dad can no longer argue, he is already asleep in a daze. Chapter 3. People Favored by the Sea God. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Where is this? Liang Yu rubbed his eyes while looking around. The surroundings are no longer the familiar walls of the houses, but a scene of open caves. There seem to be some murals painted around. Stay cool and walk closer. Relying on the slight light emanating from the cave opening, Liang Yu could clearly see the content of the mural. The murals are engraved with a creature with a blue back, yellow belly, teeth and claws, resembling a sea snake in shape. Besides that, the surroundings of this cave are quiet. It feels like being on an isolated island. The surroundings are very quiet, so quiet that the sound of dripping water is clearly visible. Dida, dida. Water droplets kept dripping onto the stones, making a crisp sound. Liang Yu's feet walked uncontrollably forward, exploring towards the front. All around here are various murals, all depicting this strange creature. There are also some strange and peculiar objects placed around. Suddenly, Liang Yu's gaze was attracted by an object and he looked in that direction. I saw a pure white stone platform abruptly placed in that direction, with a wooden box placed on it. Before I could get closer, the box seemed to be attracted by some kind of magic and slowly drifted towards me. As the box drifted, it mysteriously slowly opened in the air. As the box slowly opened, the opening of the box slowly emitted a blue light, just like the scene when Lu Haibin gave the necklace to Liang Yu at that time. However, this time the light was even more dazzling. I saw a necklace placed inside. A scissor-shaped necklace that makes Liang Yu seem familiar. Liang Yu suddenly widened his eyes in shock and used his right hand to touch his chest, but he didn't touch anything. After slightly bowing his head to confirm, Liang Yu looked at the necklace floating in the distance. This is the necklace Uncle Liu gave me. Liang Yu was shocked and blurted out, "What's going on, how am I?" Unequal, Liang Yu thinks a lot. The ground that Liang Yu stepped on suddenly cracked without warning. Accompanied by the broken stones around, watching the light getting farther and farther away from me. Liang Yu fell down freely like a falling body, very high and very black. Accompanied by the howling wind, a strange remark drifted into Liang Yu's mind. This sound does not pass through the ears, as if it is projected in the brain. Cool tour. Cool tour. Who is calling me? Liang Yu thought to himself at this moment, because at this moment, Liang Yu's consciousness had begun to blur, and the voice did not stop. Liang Yu, remember that everything about you originates from the ocean. The sea is your true destination. Puff. Accompanied by the sound of falling into the water, Liang Yu finally stopped falling rapidly, as if he had fallen into the water. Liang Yu's consciousness became slightly clearer. He felt that the water here was not choking and he could open his eyes freely without feeling any discomfort. I saw 3 characters engraved on the top of the cave within the visible range of Liang Yu's eyes. Sea Dragon God. Upon seeing these 3 words, Liang Yu couldn't help but silently recite them. Sea Dragon God. Suddenly, the water here seemed to turn into something familiar to Liang Yu, pouring into his mouth and ears. Gulu gulu, ah. Liang Yu sat up fiercely, panting heavily. Breathing, most likely, he had not breathed any air for a long time, or had just drowned. Liang Yu greedily breathed in the air, which made his lungs seem a bit painful. There was also a lot of cold sweat coming out of my body. It's really strange nightmare, ah, Liang Yu murmured, whoa, I thought I was going to drown. Liang Yu silently patted his chest, trying to calm himself down. Liang Yu's movements were not small, waking up his brother Liang Yi in his lower bunk. Brother Liang Yi rubbed his eyes in a daze and sat up straight. With a slightly bewildered tone, he asked, "What's wrong?" "Ayu, what's going on?" Liang Yu doesn't want to tell his brother that he had a nightmare. Speaking it out will only be ridiculed by his brother Liang Yi for a moment, although it will comfort Liang Yu. But I am a man who wants to become a captain, there cannot be such a scandal. Yes. Absolutely not. I paused for a moment and said, "No, brother. I feel like Uncle Liu can't wait anymore. Let's go call Dad and set off." As I spoke, I bounced on the bed and started getting dressed. The bouncing of the upper bunk can be devastating for the lower bunk. Liang Yi reluctantly grabbed her hair, roaring up to the sky, exhaling a breath, stretching lazily, then preparing to wake up. I also called out in a similar way, ah. I also stretched lazily. Don't say it, it's really refreshing. The movement of the two made Liang Ting outside the door unbearable. He originally planned to procrastinate later, but seeing that both Liang Yu and Liang Yi were awake, it was not easy for him to procrastinate. Liang Ting pushed open the door and said, "You two little bunnies, hurry up and wash up. In 15 minutes, we will gather at the dock. Do you hear Uncle Liu's boat?" Liang Yu and Liang Ting naturally dared not disobey their father's words. "Yes." My brother and I shouted loudly in unison, "I promise to complete the task." My father smiled and said, "Hurry up, little rabbits." He turned his head and closed the door back. Only my brother and I were left laughing foolishly from afar. Ha ha ha. Dock, in front of the flowing maple. Liang Ting is chatting with Lu Haibin. I can't say it's just talk, I can only say that Liang Ting unilaterally begged. "Old Lu, why don't you lend me your flowing maple number for a meeting?" As Liang Ting spoke, he cast a pleading gaze at Lu Haibin. Lu Haibin spoke with disdain and said, "Get out of here, don't waste my boat. It just crashed last month, you're not satisfied. It's such a big hole." As she spoke, Lu Haibin pointed to the flowing maple ship and gestured a large circle in the air with her hands. "Accidents, accidents, these are all accidents, ouch." As Liang Ting spoke, he pressed his hand and said, "Look, your new engine and horsepower are definitely not a problem this time. Trust me." Liang Ting said with a wry expression, while smiling and patting Lu Haibin's hand. But Lu Haibin didn't appreciate it and said suspiciously, "Did your wife ever say that you had a drink yesterday?" After listening to this, Liang Ting patted his chest with his hand and said, "It's just wine." "Stop, stop, stop. Even if you don't drink, you'll hit a hole. What if you drink?" Lu Haibin was too familiar with Liang Ting's virtues and quickly interrupted his speech, not wanting to hear him talk nonsense. Liang Ting quickly apologized and said, "Last time was an accident, this time." Lu Haibin once again interrupted Liang Ting's speech, staring at him with righteous words. Lu Haibin said decisively, "Crawling, no way. Absolutely not. At least not this time." Upon seeing this, Liang Ting knew that the negotiations were fruitless, so he had to pretend not to care at all. He looked at the distant scenery, hugged his chest with both hands, and said stiffly, "Cut, I don't really care about your boat either." She shook her head slightly deliberately, as if expressing her dissatisfaction with the ship. Seeing Liang Ting wave his hand, Lu Haibin looked at Liang Ting's expression and changed his tone slightly exaggeratedly, saying, "Ah well, I'm planning to stay busy tomorrow." Speaking, Lu Haibin took a few steps back, showing his helplessness and hesitation. Seeing the situation, Liang Ting quickly turned around and grabbed Lu Haibin, saying happily, "Brother Lu, I knew you loved me. Come on, just say a word, okay?" Lu Haibin pushed away Liang Ting, who was trying to stick with him, with a disdainful expression on his face. With a disdainful expression on his face, he said, "Crawling, look at your virtue." After speaking, he looked at the figures of Liang Yu and Liang Yi who were about to arrive in the distance, pointed to them and continued, "Here, your two precious sons are here. Do you want to say it again in front of them?" Upon hearing Lu Haibin's voice, Liang Ting looked in the direction of Lu Haibin's fingers and indeed saw the figures of Liang Yu and Liang Yi. He felt a sense of unease in his heart. Thinking of this, Liang Ting quickly straightened his posture. Cough cough. Liang Ting pretended to be thinking, coughing and extending his right hand to gesture in the air, saying, "Brother Lu, look at this wind, this cloud, this." Speaking of dressing casually, the fingers gesturing in the air pointed towards Liang Yu and Liang Yi. At this moment, my brother and I, Liang Yi, were already very close to our father's position. Liang Ting pretended to be pleasantly surprised and said, "Hey. My good sons are here. Hurry up, get on the boat, I'll tell you. Liang Ting quickly pulled Liang Yi onto the ship. Uncle Liu shook his head helplessly as he looked at this kind of cool thunder. Although he had seen many such scenes before, it was still difficult to tense up every time. My brother and I knew from Uncle Liu's expression that there might have been some scenes of my father's loss of composure just now, but we didn't take it too seriously. We didn't say anything about it. My brother and I smiled at Uncle Liu and got on the boat together. Not long ago. At sea. Uncle Liu was driving his flowing maple smoothly on the sea. My father and I were sitting in the cabin, my restless body moving left and right, looking left and right, causing my father to say, "Why are you so restless?" He pursed his tea and said to me, "Aren't you curious why Uncle Liu brought you here?" I looked curious and said, "What are you doing? What are you doing? I must be curious. Did you see the potential of me as a future captain? Want me to learn in advance how to become an excellent captain?" He fiddled with my arms and swung his fist forward. My father waved his hand helplessly and said, "You're already 12 years old. I think you're quite smart too." At this point, I confidently raised my chest. Father smiled and continued, You, I'll just tell you a story about the blessings of the sea god." Speaking, my father pretended to be deep and took a small sip of tea. Blessing from the sea god. I scratched my head with my right hand in great confusion. My father scraped the teacup with the lid and took a sip of hot tea before continuing, "In the ancient legend of our fishermen, the sea god has always been the existence we believe in. Every time we go out to sea, we pay homage to the sea god and wish us peace and a smooth return." Father paused and extended his right thumb, only to see a quaint silver shiny ring on it. Looking at this ring, Liang You always feels a familiar feeling, as if it has something to do with his own necklace. Don't wait for Liang You to think more. Liang Ting continued, "I thought I was the one blessed and blessed by the sea god." Liang Ting looked at the ring in his hand and slowly made a sound. "I got it by chance in a relic, and it brought me good luck. I have always believed that I am the one favored by the sea god, until your birth." As he spoke, he pointed at me with his finger. At the same time, I was surprised and pointed at myself with my finger, looking puzzled and saying, "Me?" "Yes." Liang Ting firmly replied, "You are the one favored by the sea god." I still couldn't believe it and replied, "Those who are favored by the sea god and blessed by him." "That's right, no matter how unbelievable you may be, all signs indicate that you, Liang You, are the one favored by the sea god." My father pointed at me in confusion. My father's firmness and seriousness have caused me confusion. Meanwhile, there is also a voice in the brain that overlaps with the father's voice and says, "You. Liang You. You are the one favored by the sea god." Children belonging to the sea. Chapter 4. Adventures. Mysterious Ruins. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Liang You. Liang You. You are the one favored by the sea god, you belong to the sea. You are the true master of the sea. I said in a daze, the sea. The true master. Liang You. Liang You. What's wrong with you? I slowly opened my eyes and saw my father and brother with a panicked expression. I said in a daze, "What's wrong with me?" Uncle Liu walked into the cabin and loudly criticized his father, "You old man, you always point at others and talk. What are you doing? Look at what you've done." Uncle Liu criticized my father while asking me with concern, "How are you feeling now? Are you feeling any better?" I walked out of my dazed expression at the beginning and said calmly to Uncle Liu, "There shouldn't be much going on. I just felt a sudden dizziness and then my eyes turned black." Uncle Liu quickly said, "It should be because I didn't eat any fruit. This cool thunder is really cool. Don't you know how to bring some fruit?" After speaking, he glared at his father beside him. The father stood beside him like a child who had done something wrong and muttered, "It's none of my business. It must be your poor boating skills that made my son seasick." "What are you saying?" Uncle Liu said angrily, "How many times have we competed in boat skills? Just your three-legged skills. If you were really seasick, your son would have to go to the ICU." Father was so angry that his beard stood up again, trying to refute something. But he couldn't refute anything, so he had to swallow his breath. Uncle Liu helped me up and gave me a mouthful of warm water while saying, "Your son is truly blessed by the sea god. He is blessed by the sea god, and those strange sea beasts that block the way are not blocking the way. Give way to my boat." As soon as the father heard these words, he proudly said, "Well, let's not see whose son it is. He has inherited excellent genes, he. Uncle Liu gave him a white glance and said, "The island is coming, get ready. I'll go park a boat first." After speaking, Uncle Liu said to me again, "Xiao Yu, the treasure is still waiting for us. Let's set off together." After speaking, he signaled everyone to disembark first. I suddenly became full of strength and shouted, "All right, let's go and search for the treasure left by the pirates." Brother Liang Yi looked at me with a helpless smile and shook his head, You are the most proactive in taking risks." On the ground, at the mysterious island coast, everyone was observing the surroundings. This is an isolated island, and it's not big enough. The sound of seabirds around seems to tell everyone that there are no signs of human habitation here recently. Uncle Liu followed up and said to the crowd after a moment, "Let's go. According to the usual routine, that mountain should be our target." Uncle Liu pointed to a mountain that was not big or small, and the island was already small. Almost most of the area was covered by this small mountain and the surrounding forests. And according to the picture I bought earlier, the baby is inside this cave. Such an obvious goal is relatively easy to find. This treasure must be on the shore and in the sea, right? If it were in the sea, it would be difficult, said Liang Ting jokingly. Seeing his father say this, Uncle Liu gave him another white look and said, "Don't curse us with your crow's mouth." My father ignored this sentence and said happily, "Hey, old Liu, I've agreed for now that I don't want anything. As long as you lend me the boat to sail for a few days and give me your precious wine to taste, tsk tisk tsk 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 tsk. Uncle Liu smiled and said, "Okay, if you encounter a good baby, don't regret it. Say no, then don't." After the father finished speaking decisively, he pondered for a while and then said, "If these two sons of mine want anything, you can give it to them according to the situation. My youngest son is favored by the sea god. Think carefully, otherwise the sea god will know and cut you off." Uncle Liu smiled and replied, "It seems like I'm being stingy like you, and I know how to divide. Don't worry, your son has quite a few, but you don't have any, ha ha ha." After finishing speaking, he left with only one sentence. "Come on, it's getting late." Then only one silhouette remained. You old Liu." Father was furious and his beard stood up again. My brother and I had to push our father and say, "Let's go back. Mysterious Island." At the foot of the mountain, after meeting with Liu Haiban standing at the foot of the mountain, everyone decided to prepare to climb the mountain. Because Liu Haiban discovered a huge cave on the mountainside, he discovered it outside. Of course, it is more due to the guidance of the treasure map. Everyone decided to follow Liu Haiban's guidance and climb the mountain first. The road up the mountain is not easy to walk, it requires both hands and feet. In addition to noon, the humid weather and mosquitoes make everyone suffer unbearably, and there is also a scorching sun overhead. Strangely enough, these rainwater and mosquitoes seem to have no effect on the cool swimming. The cool swimming is particularly relaxed and immediately leads the team. My father looked at me in unbearable pain and said, "You are so comfortable, the one favored by the sea god. Even these things are favored. It's unfair to heaven." Saying while sighing. My father's words made everyone laugh, but his footsteps did not stop and he continued to climb. In the evening, inside the cave. Ouch ouch, ouch ouch. We set off early in the morning, arrived at the small island at noon, and arrived at the treasure trove halfway up the mountain in the evening. They even said we should go early and return early. It's great now, we need to stay overnight. Liang Ting shouted while flipping over the last hurdle and lying on the ground, panting heavily, wheezing. By the way, Xiao Yu arrived earlier, what did you find? Following closely behind, Lu Haibin also climbed up lying on the ground facing the sky. Liang Ting gasped and said, "Huh. Liang Yu. Where is Uncle Liu talking to you? Liang Yu. Did you hear me? You don't seem to have." Liang Ting, who had not finished speaking yet, turned to look at Liang Yu with a shocked expression and was about to get up. I saw Liang Yu standing straight, his eyes fixed on the painting on the wall without moving, and he kept murmuring, I belong to the sea, I belong to the sea. It seems as if one has been possessed by evil. Liang Yi climbed up and saw his younger brother's unusual appearance. Ignoring his physical discomfort, he rushed forward and reached Liang Yu's side with Liang Ting, shaking his hands on Liang Yu's shoulders. Cool tour. Cool tour. Everyone shook Liang Yu's body while shouting his name. After a moment, Liang Yu trembled all over and fell to the ground. Fortunately, Liang Ting reacted quickly enough to catch Liang Yu. Lu Haibin couldn't help but say to everyone, "Let's rest in place first. Let's wait until Xiao Yu wakes up. He must have discovered something." Liang Ting and Liang Yi had no objection and started resting on the spot, lighting a fire to keep warm. As the flames slowly rose, everyone rested for a moment before regaining their energy and looking around. Studying the surrounding walls, there are some sea animals painted on the surrounding walls, seemingly all of the same species. Blue back and yellow belly, waving their teeth and claws. It's similar to those sea beasts near the island, but those sea beasts are just much smaller and have different colors. Lu Haibin exclaimed in surprise, "There is this mural here. It must be that there have been civilized species, but why is this small island banned? Even if it's for dogs to watch the house, there must be valuable items at home." "That's right, I don't know where these treasures are." Liang Ting agreed and said, "It's really strange that my precious son has been knocked unconscious." After a moment of contemplation, Lu Haibin looked at the wall and said, "What species are these strange sea beasts? This treasure." Before Lu Haibin could finish speaking, Liang Yu slowly spoke out in Liang Ting's arms, "These sea beasts are called the sea dragon god." Lu Haibin turned back in surprise and said, "Xiao Yu, you woke up. That's great. However, when it comes to what you've experienced, you said that the sea dragon god is their name, and how did you learn about it?" Liang Yu helped his head and straightened up, saying, "Uncle Liu, believe it or not, these all happened in my nightmare yesterday." "Nightmares? Has it ever appeared?" The crowd exclaimed in surprise, "Dreams that can predict the future." I nodded and continued, "In my dream, I have been to this place before. I remember there was a stone platform in the center of the cave, and there was a box in the center of the platform. I touched the necklace on my chest and continued, this necklace on my chest originated from this." Uncle Liu stood up and looked towards the center, and indeed there was a stone platform. In the center of the stone platform, there was indeed a box lying quietly. Xiao Yu arrived just a moment early, it's impossible to have explored everything. I've seen it in my dream, maybe it's true. Dreaming of reality is truly rare. Uncle Liu thought of this and said, "Xiao Yu, do you only have these contents in your dream?" I paused and continued, "The current box should be empty." Uncle Liu walked over and opened the box. He saw that it was indeed empty, but there was clearly a groove for a necklace and a groove for a ring inside. Uncle Liu thought for a moment and asked his father, "Old Liang, does your ring also come from this?" After my father handed me over to his brother for help, he compared it a bit and concluded that it should have come from here. I paused and said, "Dad, lend me your ring to see." My father hesitated and took out the ring and threw it to me. After I took the ring, Uncle Liu asked, "Xiao Yu, when you entered this cave, you were also unconscious for a while, but you were also dreaming." I patted my head and said, "Yes, I remember," the sea god dragon said to me. People are greedy. The first group of people to discover this island discovered endless gold in the depths of the cave, but due to their own ulterior motives, only one person was left to profit. However, due to exhaustion and scars all over their bodies, they did not take away these treasures. Uncle Liu was about to get up and explore when suddenly a round of applause echoed from behind. What a prophecy dream, Liang family kid. Have you ever dreamed of the handsome appearance of your brothers from the Dragon and Tiger Gang in your prophecy dream? A group of men in black appeared from the darkness and surrounded the four people. Dragon and Tiger Gang, why did they come here? Why didn't the sea beast stop them? Is it difficult? Lu Haibin thought while retreating with Liang Ting to protect the two children. The leader who claimed to be from the Dragon and Tiger Gang said, Old Lu, you have scattered all your wealth and mortgaged the small fish cutlet to our Dragon and Tiger Gang for money to buy a treasure map. It is really useful. That crazy old man really knows the treasure, and you dare to buy it too. I just said, why did you exchange money with our boss? It turns out there's such a chance. That's it. Fortunately, the great king was wise and powerful. He came up with a tracking method, otherwise this old man would have secretly swallowed the treasure. The leader enjoys the flattery of his subordinates. At this moment, a small and skinny gang member suddenly rushed out and said something in the head's ear. The leader smiled and applauded, saying, Okay, there is indeed gold. Ha 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 ha, heaven bless our Dragon and Tiger Gang. It's not a waste for our 24 brothers to hide together in the storage room of your broken ship. It's really frustrating. The leader patted his clothes with disdain and turned his head to look at us, playing with his machete and saying, Alright, I've finished talking about the past and what I want to say here. Do you have anything else to say? After speaking, the leader had raised his machete and pointed it at us. Chapter 5. Mysterious Stone Gate Open, Treasure or Monster. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The human heart is an incredible creation. Difficult to speculate. Difficult to ponder. Hey. Liang family kid, you're sleepwalking again. The leader waved the curved knife in his hand and said, Use your one quickly, what? The leader shook his head and pondered. The younger brother beside him quickly whispered, Boss, yes, prophecy dreams. The leader nodded quickly upon hearing this, and the curved sword in his hand swayed even more. He said, Yes, prophecy dream, Liang family kid. Do you have any other clues to this prophecy dream? Simple gold should not be so mysterious, right? After speaking, he stared at Liang You with a cold smile on his face. My father quickly stood in front of me. I tried to calm myself down and said calmly to the leader, Yes, there are, but you must promise me that after everything is done, you must let us go. The leader turned his cloudy eyes, pondered for a moment, and said with a smile, Of course, our Dragon and Tiger Gang has always taken people's money and helped them with disaster relief. The leader stared at the curved sword in his hand, and after exerting some force on his wrist, he nodded with satisfaction and placed it in the scabbard. He said, Liang, then, please lead the way first. Don't play any tricks, be careful, the sword has no eyes. Faced with the threat from the leader of the Dragon and Tiger Gang, I didn't care. Their actions were all expected. As for whether it is safe to leave, I believe we can only rely on ourselves. According to my dream, the hidden treasure here can arouse people's desires. I believe that those people will not let us leave unharmed after seeing the treasure. We are not moving now just because there is still value in utilization. We need to find an opportunity to escape. Got it. I already have some plans in my mind. I led the way forward and gradually walked towards the depths of the cave. The cave became increasingly gloomy due to the dim light in the evening. We each carried kerosene lamps and kept groping forward. Undercurrent surges in the cave, moisture in the air, and droplets of water dripped towards the ground with gravity. The narrow terrain made our steps slower. But this is definitely unpleasant for the leader. He said displeased, "You've been circling around, kid from the Liang family. Do you really know the location of the treasure? Are you deceiving me, right?" As he spoke, he placed his hand on the handle of the knife again. Uncle Liu came out to make a comeback and said, "Boss Li, don't worry, we can still slip away under your nose. We have the heart but not the courage." With this heart. The leader heard this and slowly pulled out a little knife. The bright knife was about to come out, as if making the already cold air even colder. Uncle Liu quickly said upon seeing the situation, "Who dares, who dares? Just now, my little brother was clumsy. He should be here soon. I'll ask Xiao Yu." After finishing speaking, Uncle Liu said to me, "Xiao Yu, how long will it take to arrive?" I stopped when I heard it. The leader looked at the situation and said in confusion, "What's wrong? Why stop and continue to lead the way? Liang family kid, I still believe you. Hurry up and continue to lead the way." The leader stopped when he saw me, afraid that I wouldn't continue to lead the way. He was still curious about the treasure. I said calmly, "This is the treasure you want." I pointed to a thick stone door with various wonderful patterns engraved on it. Looking at the mossy appearance, it must have been a long time since it was opened. Near the stone gate are various boxes, some of which have already been opened, filled with gold, silver, jewelry, and some old objects that have never been seen before. But in contrast to gold, silver, and jewelry, there are numerous white bones around the treasure chest, adding a touch of gloom to this environment. All kinds of signs indicate that danger is rampant here. The leader looked at the stone gate and pondered for a moment. Turning his head to me, he said, "Liang family kid, I see that this stone gate seems very mysterious. According to common sense, there should be very mysterious objects and treasures inside." He suddenly changed his painting style and slowly spoke to me, "But according to the situation here, it seems that no one can leave completely or return with a full load. Liang family kid, do you have a way to open this door?" After some thought, I said coldly to the leader, "Let me open the door, but once we do, we must evacuate. Everything inside has nothing to do with us, or you can only take the treasure from the nearby boxes and we will evacuate." The leader smiled and placed his arm on my shoulder, saying with a smile, "Oh no, Liang family kid, oh no, Liang brother, don't be in a hurry to leave. We've all arrived, won't you come with me to see the treasures inside?" I raised my hand and pushed away his arm resting on my shoulder, slowly saying, "That's not necessary, I'm not interested." The leader looked a bit unhappy, but immediately suppressed this emotion and said to me with a smile, "How about this? I'll have my brothers send your father and Uncle Liu back first. How about you and your brother accompany me here?" Before I could respond, he said again, "I know what you're thinking. Don't be afraid. I have to rely on you to open the door for me. I asked your relatives to take a small boat back directly and let your brother stay. This is both to take care of you and to prevent those two old men from blocking us outside. They each have their own chips." Looking at the expression on the leader's face, I knew that this was already his biggest concession. I couldn't let him speak, so he greeted the younger brothers and said, You, and you few. The leader pointed to the younger brothers, "Send these two old men out to me, and the rest will continue to accompany me to open this stone gate with the Liang family. By the way, there are also you two, to supervise the mining of the gold mine. If you find them alone, there will be a lot of rewards. I was about to speak with my right hand resting on my shoulder when I realized that I was having a conversation with my father. I had to say in a cold, low voice, what a scene of deep affection between father and son. I took out the ring that my father had thrown for me to investigate, but I didn't investigate and said, "Dad, I'll give it back to you. I'll study it when I go back. This is your talisman." After speaking, I was ready to hand the ring to my father. But he didn't take it over, instead he picked it up and put it on my right thumb. Then he slowly said, "Captain Liang You, you need this talisman even more. I have been sent back, and we need it even more. Old Liu and I are waiting for your triumphant return at home. The person favored by the sea god is also my dearest son." After speaking, the father said to Liang Yi again, "You need to take good care of your younger brother and protect him." After speaking, without waiting for us to say anything, he leaned on Uncle Liu's shoulder and gradually drifted away, leaving only a thick back and his right hand swaying in the air. Seeing that our farewell had ended, the leader walked up to me and said, "All right, Liang family kid, we still have business to do." I smiled and said, Yes, let me think about the matter." As I thought, I approached the stone gate, constantly recalling the appearance of those murals in my mind. Legend has it that in the ancient sea, there was chaos until the birth of a true ocean lord. Sea Dragon God. Leviathan, as the owner of the sea, what exactly is his treasure? I kept exploring the stone wall, and indeed, it made me feel something unusual. A scissor-shaped gap, probably related to opening the door. I said to everyone calmly, "I'm going to open the door." After speaking, he took out a scissor-shaped necklace from his chest and inserted it into the stone door. The stone gate seemed to sense something, and the sapphire on the necklace gradually shone brighter and brighter. Along with the stone gate, not only the necklace brightened, but also the eyes of the members of the Dragon and Tiger gang, not to mention the leader's eyes that seemed to emit golden light. Boom! With the sound, the stone door slowly opened, and the ancient secret would also surface. Chapter 6. The Manifestation of Abilities, the Present Life of Yumenggang. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. Accompanied by the heavy stone gate, it slowly opened. Obviously, the members of the Dragon and Tiger gang did not care about the mystery of the stone gate, and their eyes were fixed on the inside of the stone gate. Wait until the smoke and dust dissipate. With everyone's gaze, the space inside the stone gate was unusually large. Surrounded by various ancient objects, dusty armor, quaint long swords, and various sheepskin scrolls placed in the recesses of the stone wall. Everything here conveys a message that someone has lived here before. There is a huge pool in the center of the room, and murals are also painted on the walls around it, like in a cave, depicting various creatures that resemble long snakes. But this is not the blue back and yellow belly like in the cave, but the yellow back and green belly, and the appearance is even more ferocious, seemingly adding a lot of evil. Liang Yu naturally has already noticed this point. What is this? The one outside is called the Sea Dragon God in the dream, and what does it have to do with it? Subordinates. Liang Yu was looking down and thinking, when the leader beside him smiled and said, "Brother Liang, is this the last treasure?" After some contemplation, Liang Yu immediately said, "It should be all there is. This island is not very big." Later, Liang Yu held Liang Yi's hand and said to the leader, "Little brother, I congratulate the leader on returning with a full load. My brother and I followed the agreement and left first." The leader smiled and waved his hand at the sight. The subordinates surrounded the exit upon seeing this. Liang Yi saw the situation and said, "Leader Li, did you promise to let us go once it's delivered?" After speaking, he protected Liang Yu behind him and stared at the leader with his eyes. The leader laughed and said, "Where is there? Am I the kind of person who speaks without keeping his word? Little ones, do you think so?" A group of little brothers cheered and said, "Yeah, our boss Li is the most trustworthy. I don't inquire about my name outside either. Are you questioning our boss?" The leader waved his hand, gesturing for his subordinates to be quiet. Turning to Liang Yi, he said, "You know, after everything is done, if you lock the stone door when you go out, what should we do?" As he spoke, he raised his hands and showed a bewildered expression. Looking at Liang Yu and Lian Yi with a smile on his face, the remaining little brothers started to cheer up again. "Yes, yes. Our boss is honest and upright, but what if you use some petty tricks?" Liang Yi raised his voice and said, "You can send 2 subordinates to take us out, and it can also prove that what you have arranged for us is all unfounded." The leader smiled and waved his hand, saying, "Don't do it, don't hurt harmony." Immediately, the leader walked towards Liang Yi's direction. This made Liang Yi feel a slight sense of threat and tightly protected Liang Yu behind her. The leader continued to smile and said, "The main thing is that I need your brother to study the treasures here. Having someone favored by the sea god by your side is the most reassuring thing in the sea." After speaking, the leader prepared to pat Liang Yi on the shoulder, but Liang Yi pushed away with his back, causing the leader's hand to hang in the air. The leader's face froze instantly, but he shook his hand and smiled. "Liang Yi, I have no objection if you want to leave, but your brother has to stay here." Liang Yi retorted, "But you promised from the beginning." Before Liang Yi could finish speaking, the little brothers blocking the door pulled out their swords one after another, and the leader didn't know when he pulled out his curved sword and was carefully wiping it. While wiping, he said, "Do you think you still have a choice?" Liang Yi said urgently, "You." Liang Yi is preparing to argue. Unexpectedly, before Liang Yi could finish speaking, a bright curved knife plunged into his chest, and Liang Yi's shocked eyes remained on his gradually widening face. "That's it." Liang Yi slowly fell to the ground. I fell into Liang Yu's shocked eyes. When the leader drew his sword and stabbed Liang Yu was already at a loss and his limbs were at a loss. The leader kicked Liang Yi open with his foot, took out a handkerchief from his pocket, and began wiping the curved knife again. It just changed from wiping dust at the beginning to wiping blood stains. The leader spoke calmly, "Noisy. Brother, you." Liang Yu looked at everything in front of him with an incredulous expression on his face. The leader who kills without blinking an eye, and the unconscious Liang Yi who falls to the ground. Liang Yu's shocked gaze first lingered on Liang Yi's body, then turned to the leader who wiped the curved blade. The scene before him made it difficult for him to think, even speaking was a difficult task for him at this moment. He looked helplessly at the fallen Liang Yi, his numb limbs slowly moving, wanting to touch the warmth that accompanied Liang Yi from childhood to adulthood. The leader's knife cleaning work has come to an end, and he said in a low, displeased voice, "It's another scene of a bitter drama." After speaking, he put away his knife and quickly walked towards the cold. He picked up Liang Yu, who was trying to embrace Liang Yi, and the way his hands and feet drooped made the leader burst into laughter. The leader sneered and said, "Tsk, what a pitiful and helpless kid from the Liang family." The leader smiled and turned his head to look at the gang members, who all started to cheer. "Little ghost is going to cry, ha ha ha. Poor child, don't worry, you'll be here soon." After hearing the answer, the leader turned his head and sneered at Liang Yu. "Don't worry, you're still useful now. Maybe I'll show mercy and let you go." His cold smile made Liang Yu's hair explode. Liang Yu crazily kicked the leader's abdomen with both feet and tore at the leader's right arm with both hands. I saw Liang Yu's pupils gradually congest and turn red, and the remaining tears at the corners of his eyes seemed to be dyed red by this gaze, like blood. This kind of coolness also made the leader's killing heart gradually rise. He endured the pain and threw Liang Yu heavily to the ground, and the powerful impact also made Liang Yu slide on the ground for a distance. The leader tidied up his clothes and pulled out his curved sword, pointing coldly at the fallen Liang Yu. "Liang family kid, if it weren't for your usefulness, you would have become the soul of my sword long ago," he said coldly. After finishing speaking, he didn't forget to kick the body of Liang Yi lying on the ground and continued angrily, "What I can't see the most is the scenes of a bitter drama. Crying and crying, besides wasting time, what's the use of it? If you want to survive in this world. The leader clenched his fist and said fiercely to Liang Yu, only with a fist can we help you, not your worthless tears. Do you understand? He pointed to Liang Yi and said with a sneer, you are just like me when I was a child, but you are less cold-blooded than I was when I was a child. You are now a woman who can only cry, you know. After speaking, he seemed to have thought of something again and burst into laughter. After a moment, the laughter gradually subsided, and the cold expression returned to his face. He said coldly, oh, actually, you're a bit better than me. The leader paused for a moment and said slowly, because your father and your Uncle Liu have only recently left, you can still be together on the road to the underworld, ha ha ha. After the leader finished speaking, he burst out laughing again. The scene and words made Liang Yu almost collapse, and he could only shout dementia, Dad. Dad, die. Die. Liang Yu doesn't even know when the tears from the corners of his eyes will flow. The leader stomped his feet, sorted out his emotions, and said solemnly, young family kid, I'll give you some time to adjust, and then tell me the secret here. Then he grinned and continued, judging from my mood, should I give you a good time or let you go back and be with your old mother at home? The leader paused and greeted his subordinates, saying, you, and you, move these boxes out. And you, organize all these valuable old items and pack them all away. After speaking, he seemed to have thought of something again and turned to Liang Yu, saying, actually, we were also invited by your Uncle Liu. He is not a gentleman, but a petty person. Then he sneered and said, no matter whether we come or not, you will all be sacrificial. I killed him as a scapegoat. He has already been paid and has become obsessed. After finishing speaking, he signaled to go down and pack the treasure chest, and then observed the mural himself. About 10 minutes later. The leader murmured, no, this mural seems a bit different from the outside, isn't it? Hiss, it's strange. Maybe I made a mistake. I asked my hands to come back and study, but they are all different. That's it. The leader is pondering. Of course it's different, this is not the sea god in the mural outside, said Liang Yu coldly behind him as he gradually recovered. The leader was surprised by the quick recovery of Liang Yu, but was also surprised for a moment before replying, it's not a sea god, what is that? Liang Yu slowly stood up and pulled off his necklace from his chest, throwing it into the pool in the center of the room. He said slowly, the legendary monster. Yumenggang. The embodiment of evil. The leader didn't care about Liang Yu's behavior of throwing things, but asked, Yumenggang. Isn't that? Before the leader could finish speaking, a burst of golden light emanated from behind him, indicating the location of Liang Yi's body. The leader turned his head in surprise and saw the body slowly transform into a card floating with golden light. After a moment, it transformed into a stream of light and flew towards Liang Yi's hand. Before the leader could be shocked, the movement of the pool and the unease of the ground made him turn his gaze to the central pool. I saw a huge fluctuation gradually emerging from the central pool, with countless splashes of water gushing out. The ground was also constantly shaking, and the dust and gravel falling from the top of the cave constantly reminded everyone that it was not advisable to stay here for a long time. The leader turned angrily and shouted at Liang Yu, Liang family kid, what did you do? The leader confronted Liang Yu with anger on his face, while still reminding the gang members to bring their spoils of war. As he spoke, he commanded the younger brothers to retreat. At this moment, Liang Yu seemed a bit eerie, his eyes empty, and the aura emanating from his body made the leader's hair stand on end. I saw Liang Yu smiling and saying to the leader, it's nothing, just a small gift, it's just a welcome gift. You. The leader was about to speak when the ground shook again, forcing him to interrupt his speech in order to stand firm. After listening, Liang Yu paused and placed his right index finger on his lips, whispering. Shu, Yumenggang, you've already woken up. Ha ha ha, ha ha ha. Immediately, Liang Yu seemed to burst out laughing wildly. This scene naturally made the leader feel very uncomfortable. There is a voice in his heart telling him, "Run away quickly, otherwise there won't be enough time." Chapter 7. Anger from the Sea. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. This is a dream from when Liang You first entered the cave. A paragraph. The dream of prophecy. Where is this? How did I appear here? I wasn't just. Liang Yu looked around in the pitch black, with a bewildered expression. The familiar feeling brought to him by these 4 weeks was like the dream before departure. Kid, you finally found this place. At this moment, a sound sounded. With the sound, a golden card condensed from Liang Yu's hand. Liang Yu's gaze was drawn to the card, which emitted a dazzling light that illuminated the surroundings. After the card appeared, without waiting for Liang Yu to observe carefully, he flew from his hand towards the surroundings. Liang Yu tried to reach out and grab it, but went straight through. The card slowly flew along the mural on the wall, and the sound echoed again. This world was originally a vast ocean. Numerous marine life forms are nurtured here. Azure has always been the main color tone here. As the sound slowed down, the light of the golden card grew stronger, illuminating the entire stone wall. The mural that Yu Liang had seen in his dream once again appeared in his eyes. Unlike ordinary depictions in reality, it seems that the radiance of painting or golden cards highlights the divine nature of this painting. Directly below the mural, Liang Yu once again saw the name in his dream, his thoughts synchronized with the echo. It's the Sea Dragon God. Leviathan, Sea Dragon God. Leviathan. After hearing this sound, Liang Yu unconsciously repeated it. Liang Yu murmured, "Are you the sea god we believe in? Are you the one blessing me?" At the same time, the mural gradually began to vibrate, and the light of the golden cards became more dazzling, making Liang Yu unable to open his eyes. Liang Yu quickly tried to block the light with his hands. When Liang Yu felt like he could open his eyes again, he put down his obstructed hands and his eyes gradually focused. I saw only a golden card floating in the air in his eyes, and the original mural became much dimmer. The patterns inside the golden card are lifelike, strictly speaking, they are living. Leviathan inside flipped his body and said, "I am not the sea god you believe in." Later, Leviathan inside sneered, "Do you think a sea beast will become your faith? Then you still claim to be. Because I am originally the master of the sea, not a fictional god." Speaking of this, Leviathan looked straight at Liang Yu. "As for you humans, you are really cunning, have various means to subdue enemies, and even claim to be wise. But when pointing the butcher's knife at your own people, will you still say that?" Subsequently, Leviathan seemed to feel a bit absolute in what he said, and then added. "Human beings, the credibility is generally not high, but you are an exception." Liang Yu is about to refute. Leviathan said, "You are an exception. Don't say anything else. Be careful." Leviathan waved his tail helplessly and said to Liang Yu, "The time this time is very short, let's make a long story short." As the sound fell, a golden light shone on the ground, and a stone chamber suddenly appeared. Inside, there is my last evolved body imprisoned, Yumenggang. This is an absolutely ominous thing. Please be careful not to release it. Then Leviathan changed his tone and said, "Of course, if you encounter danger, you have to make a different decision." Yumenggang. Is it a sea snake in mythology? Liang Yu blurted out after some thought, "This actually exists. I didn't expect that all of you humans have records of this, it's really interesting." After a pause, Leviathan continued, "Although you are not a person favored by the sea god, you are a true god-favored person. The person favored by the god may also be." Suddenly, Leviathan seemed to sense something and came to his senses, saying, "Your companion is coming, so we won't delve further into this issue." Liang Yu looked helplessly at Leviathan in the card. Leviathan continued, "Yumenggang will not attack you. You have a natural affinity for all marine creatures. It should be said that you are responsive to any substance, and you need to slowly explore this. As for manifestation, just like this golden card, this is one of your abilities. I'm not particularly clear about the rest, but my soul is now stored in your card, and I can slowly study all of this in the future. You can condense all the substances and energy that are affinity for you into cards, and explore their uses later. Immediately, Leviathan pointed to the necklace on my chest with his paw. Liang Yu's gaze immediately turned to the necklace emitting a faint blue light on his chest. Leviathan continued. One more thing, the key that unlocks the seal of Yumenggang is on your chest, it is my token. Liang Yu looked at the gods nagging Leviathan and said, you look like an old mother who explains things. Without waiting for Leviathan to refute, Liang Yu's thoughts were pulled back from his dream to reality. What species are these sea beasts? Outside the cave the leader fled with his little brothers one by one, and some of them even dropped a few boxes, just about to pick them up. But he was stopped by the leader and shouted, hurry up. I don't want my life anymore, right? I'll come back next time to pick it up, trample on the horse. The leader spat angrily and said, what kind of person is favored by the sea god? The leader muttered in panic, isn't Yumenggang a sea demon? It's an ominous incarnation, representing the anger of the sea and destruction. I won't die here, will I? No, no, no. Thinking of this leader, he quickly shook his head and his running footsteps became faster and faster. The leader was panting heavily while running, while also considering countermeasures. What to do? What to do? What to do? There are monsters, and there is a demon who drives them. What a hassle. The leader spat at the thought of Liang Yu. Suddenly, the leader's gasping breath stopped, and he took a cold breath. Following the leader's shocked gaze, I saw two corpses on the beach gradually turning into golden streamers and flying towards the mountaintop. After seeing this scene, the leader's memories were stirred up. It's the kid from the Liang family. Without waiting for the leader to think more, with a loud rumble, accompanied by a heavy sound, the entire mountain was blasted out with a loud noise. Seeing this leader, quickly summon all the members of the gang. Not good, not good, not good, the monster is here, get on the boat quickly. The leader quickly shouted. Hiss, hiss. A slightly chilly sound sounded. I saw a broken mountain slowly crawling out of a yellow-backed, green-bellied monster with no eyes but terrifying fangs. It seems to be staring at the people of the Dragon and Tiger Gang, as if looking at a group of prey. I saw Yumenggang open his bloody mouth, and a series of startling tentacles extended from his mouth, shooting rapidly towards the crowd. In just a moment, we arrived at the side of the Dragon and Tiger Gang. In the midst of everyone's panic, sharp teeth sprouted at the end of their tentacles, firmly biting their necks. Then, in their desperate expressions, they flew backwards at the same speed as Zisher. Ah 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 ah. Help me. Leader, help me. Listening to the painful cries of the gang members, the leader dared not turn back at all. At this moment, he only thinks. Escape. The faster you escape, the better. After running all the way to the ship, he quickly set sail and headed towards the outside. Due to his fast walking, only one member of the gang followed suit, and the others had to be nurtured by Yumenggang. The gang members who flatter him every day are the ones who have gone even further up. Fortunately, he was quite agile and luckily climbed onto the ship. However, despite being agile, I still lost my right arm due to the biting of my tentacles. It's not because it was pulled off, but because the tentacle caught my right hand, and in an emergency, I had to break my arm to escape. Leader. Leader, set sail quickly. The leader listened to the shouting and could no longer control the plight of his subordinates. Quickly activated the flowing maple and rushed towards the direction of arrival. Watching the flowing maple speeding away, Yumenggang did not show any interest, but slowly shrank back, gradually shrinking in size. Within the stone chamber Liang Yu sat on the ground in a daze. At this moment, he had already come back to his senses from that wonderful state. He stared straight ahead at the ground. Following Liang Yu's gaze, 3 glowing golden cards lay on the ground. Dad, brother, Uncle Liu. Liang Yu absent-mindedly scanned the cards on the ground one by one. His eyes were no longer able to squeeze out any tears. During the period from the beginning to the end of Yumenggang's appearance, Leviathan witnessed it. When the most cunning creature in its eyes is most vulnerable. I only remember rolling on the cold ground, like a newborn baby, crying helplessly. He was crying, wailing loudly. I hope someone can give him a hug and give him a support, but unfortunately, he is now helpless. That scene made Leviathan unable to bear to look straight at it. After a while, he stopped watching and only heard the constant cries coming from behind. I don't know how long it has been. When Yumenggang returned, Leviathan slowly spoke up and said, Liang Yu, cheer up. Your family and mother are worried about you, cheer up. After just crying, Liang Yu has calmed down a lot. Perhaps he realized that no matter how much he cried, he couldn't save anyone or anything. He took out the cloth bag that used to hold the necklace and wrapped it around these 3 meaningful cards. Leviathan was about to say, it can be incorporated into the divine soul. But it stopped this action, perhaps wrapping it up could give him more comfort for the fragile person in front of him. Thinking of this, Leviathan turned his head. Liang Yu wrapped the cards layer by layer like Uncle Liu did before and placed them in his chest pocket. After finishing this, he stood up. Upon returning from the sidelines, Yumenggang pushed the scissor necklace representing the token to Liang Yu's feet. Seeing this, Liang Yu didn't say much. Immediately, Liang Yu picked it up and put it behind his chest. With a wave of his right hand, Liang Yu cast a golden light over Yumenggang and said to him calmly, let's go. This ability was communicated by Leviathan. Under the cover of golden light, Yumenggang also transformed into a card. Just different from other cards, it only presents a light yellow color. Liang Yu stroked the ring on his right thumb and murmured, Dad, let's go home. As he spoke, he walked towards the outside of the stone. As he walked, he murmured. At least for now, there are still people in need of protection. Chapter 8. Goodbye. Hello. You are listening at novelfull.audio. On the vast ocean. Liang Yu stepped on Yumenggang's back and advanced towards the dock at the fastest speed he could bear. The card condensed by conquering Yumenggang is completely different from other cards, it is a light yellow card. Liang Yu looked at the card thoughtfully. Leviathan seemed to have guessed what Liang Yu was thinking. Regarding this, Leviathan explained calmly, perhaps it's because Yumenggang is just the remaining shell of my body after ascending, with only a little self-awareness and no divine soul. Flying up. Liang Yu was a bit curious and continued to ask Leviathan, what is Feisheng? Leviathan proudly said, because I have transcended the limitations of this plane and become a transcendent existence, that is, among your mortal population, becoming a god. Immediately, Leviathan sighed and said, my soul has flown to a brand new interface that can accommodate my realm. Liang Yu asked again, so why are you? Leviathan said calmly, perhaps it's because of your reasons, or maybe my spiritual thoughts are not clear enough, left here. Speaking of this, Leviathan quickly explained, if I want to ascend to that realm, I am not impossible either. It's just that the cost is a bit difficult for me to accept. It's better to be happy and carefree here. Leviathan tried to make Liang Yu no longer suffer by jokingly, but obviously he succeeded. After listening, Liang Yu sneered and said, yes, Lord Leviathan is incredibly powerful. Leviathan looked up arrogantly and said, that's not true. Suddenly, it angrily said, you kid, you're trying to kill me, right? Liang Yu chuckled and said, alright, I won't tease you anymore. It's time to go somewhere. As he spoke, Liang Yu jumped off Yumenggang's back and landed safely on the dock. With a wave of his right hand, Yumenggang transformed into a pale yellow card. Liang Yu looked around in silence. Strange, why is there no one left? Liang Yu thought to himself, today is not a special holiday, why aren't everyone at the dock? Suddenly, Liang Yu thought of something and shouted, not good, mother. Liang Yu is running towards home. As he ran, he thought to himself, is it possible that Yumenggang didn't finish killing everyone? They wouldn't. Liang Yu's thoughts are running rapidly. No, go take a look at home first, mother, wait for me. With this in mind, my footsteps became even faster. Dida. Dida. The unpredictable weather started to drizzle again, landing on the ground, scattering dust, but then condensing into ash blocks. Bit by bit, it dripped onto Liang Yu's body. Liang Yu couldn't take care of so much anymore, he just wanted to get home as soon as possible. Take her. The sea. It seems that some people's shouts are mixed in with the rain. We cannot kill people like this. They must be killed. Demons. They all. Damn it. There were scattered voices ahead, mixed with the sound of rain, making it difficult to hear the words clearly. But considering the situation of no one at the dock, it seems that Liang Yu has already thought about why. It's broken, dragon and tiger gang. With this in mind, Liang Yu's footsteps became faster and faster. The rain is getting heavier and heavier. The voices of the crowd are becoming increasingly clear. Kill her, kill her. The person who gave birth to a monster must also be a monster. What an unlucky family that gave birth to such a monster. Everyone held umbrellas in one hand and pointed flashlights at a woman lying on the ground in the other. While shouting, he threw things at her, including cabbage, fish fat, and even fish offal. The women on the ground could only plead bitterly. He's not like that. You must have made a mistake. Absolutely not. People naturally won't believe the words of people on the ground, they will always blindly follow the thinking of the masses. Even if one is completely unaware of it. Wait until you cool down and climb to a small earthen slope. Once, Liang Yu liked to stand on this earthen slope and look down at the direction of his home not far away, waving happily at it. But at this moment, the small hill is the best viewing platform for watching the execution of oneself. When Liang Yu can see the rough outline of the person on the ground clearly. Liang Yu shouted out in despair, "Mother!" Upon hearing the cry, everyone turned around. Even the woman lying on the ground struggled to lift her head and shake it in the direction of the cold swim. It seems to be telling him not to come back. The muddy water on the face is accompanied by rain, making it impossible to distinguish whether it is rain or tears. Liang Yu looks at the crowd of Chi looking at himself. Liang Yu saw a familiar feeling in their eyes. Just like when the fishermen were rushing to the sea every day, seeing the expression of the target fish finally getting hooked. Many timid people saw Liang Yu scatter and flee, running while shouting, "Monster! Monster is coming!" But there were still many people standing still, their fanatical eyes seeming to devour Liang Yu. At this moment, they are more like monsters than Liang Yu. In the crowd, a familiar face appeared on Liang Yu's face. He pushed aside the crowd and shouted with a smile, "Monster, you're still here. What are you still doing? Take action." Without waiting for Liang Yu to react, two strong and muscular people appeared on the side at an unknown time, both of them simultaneously wielding sticks. Bang! A sturdy knot landed on the back, and a sweet smell instantly came from the throat. Blood splattered out of the mouth. Cough! Liang Yu stared intently at the person in the crowd, who was so familiar that he couldn't be more familiar with the leader of the dragon and tiger gang. Bang! Another stick hit the back of the head, and Liang Yu felt the sky and earth suddenly dim. His eyes turned black and he fell to the ground in response. Buzz! The buzzing sound kept going, and the rain poured down even harder on the ground. Some of the mud and water on the ground still flowed into the mouth of the fallen Liang Yu, but at this point, Liang Yu could no longer react. Pada. Pada, water droplets the size of beans fall down one by one. The pouring rain began to attempt to clean the earth. However, this rain cannot wash away the blood on the ground, nor can it wash away the malice of everyone. Liang Yu's consciousness gradually blurred. When Liang Yu regained consciousness again, he found that the villagers had wrapped Liang Yu in cloth strips and nailed him to death with wooden boards, making it impossible for him to break free. Liang Yu only has his mouth left unsealed. Liang Yu spoke weakly, "Why?" After speaking, he coughed and spattered a little saliva, accompanied by blood inside. The leader of the dragon and tiger gang turned around and saw him holding a cloth strip in his hand, saying to Liang Yu, "You have harmed your father, killed your closest uncle, and even killed my group of brothers, just for your own selfish desires." The leader's righteous appearance left Liang Yu stunned. "No, it's not like that, it's not like that," he said weakly. The leader continued, "You even released the legendary monster, Yumenggang." The villagers trembled when they heard the name of Yumenggang. Yumenggang. Isn't this the monster that our ancestors have been talking about? Surprisingly, he released this monster. It seems that he is really the son of a monster. After the leader finished speaking, he turned to the villagers and continued, "I believe everyone has also felt the impact of that monster, that ship." The leader pointed in the direction of the distant, flowing maple, and slowly spoke up, "Only one crew member on the ship can escape, and it is only by breaking their arm that they can escape from the monster's mouth. All of this is evidence." After speaking, the leader turned his head and stared at Liang Yu. Liang Yu read a hint of pride in his eyes, as well as anger towards himself for sabotaging his plan. The villagers quickly shouted, "Monster, indeed it was done by a monster. Kill this demon. Yes, kill this demon. Kill him." Liang Yu shook his head weakly and tried to explain, saying, "No, it's not like that. It's all this person who's just talking nonsense. No, don't believe him." After hearing this, the leader said to the crowd, "All the evidence is here. Someone, let's bury this pair of demon mother and son in the rapids and seal the demon." After speaking, the leader slowly came over with a cloth strip. As he tied his mouth, he sneered in a voice he could hear, "I admit, I made a mistake in my judgment of you." After tying Liang Yu's mouth, he said with a slight smile, "You're not just a mother who only cries and chirps, but also a naive and ignorant fool. Ha ha ha, go down and bury my brothers." At this point, the leader sneered and tied the cloth tightly. Shouting to Liang Yu, "Someone, sink the demon mother and son into the sea, throw them into the deep sea, and carry out the punishment of burying them in the rapids." Liang Yu shook his head in despair while pleading as he watched the villagers carrying him. The villagers sneered and said, "Monster, my son died at sea. Even if you go down there, my son won't let you go. It's all because of you." After finishing speaking, he took out a cloth strip and stuck it on Liang Yu's eyes, then picked up Liang Yu and slowly moved towards the dock. Upon hearing this sentence, Liang Yu's last desire for survival had dissipated. Family members have died, and the distrust of those at the dock. All of this made Liang Yu lose his desire to survive. Perhaps dying with my mother, it's also quite good. Thinking of this, Liang Yu let go of his thoughts and quietly waited for the arrival of death. Liang Yu only felt like he was on a boat. Everyone on the ship was criticizing Yumu and her son for catching a cold, and some villagers who tried to speak out were threatened to change their minds. The wall falls and everyone pushes, the unchanging truth in the world. Faced with the distrust of the villagers and the passing of his loved ones, he no longer has the desire to live. He only hopes to hurry down now and gather with them. Thinking about it, the ship had already arrived at its destination and stopped. "Drowning this monster, we can't leave him behind," said an agitated villager. Then more and more villagers joined in. Gradually turned into a slogan. The villagers were furious and wished to tear up this young man now. They believed it was because of him that they were attacked by pirates and that he had killed others. All the villagers gathered on the ship, staring at the wooden box next to them. In the crowd, the village chief led 2 executioners, one of whom was the leader of the dragon and tiger gang. The village chief walked up to the wooden box and said, "This is the incarnation of the evil god, and it must be sanctioned by the sea god. Only when he is thrown into the rapids will he be buried here." Subsequently, the village chief solemnly said, "Today, I will replace Lord Haishan. Give him the punishment of being buried by the rapids." As they spoke, 2 executioners took action, each with a wooden box, preparing to push the box into the rapids for burial. Liang You also thought that perhaps this could eliminate the hatred of the villagers towards him, so that he could reunite with his father and Uncle Liu. Let go. With the order of the village chief, the 2 executioners pushed hard. Among them, the leader seemed to pat the box before pushing, indicating goodbye. Death accompanied by ocean currents constantly devouring everything around it, making the wooden box vulnerable to the vortex. Seawater invaded the wooden box, suffocating the already narrow space and continuously filling the nose of Liang You. "I might really die this time. It seems like I can't become a pirate captain anymore." At this moment, the scissors-shaped necklace on Liang Yu's chest emitted bursts of blue light, which spread throughout the entire rapids burial. Leviathan sighed helplessly in the spirit of Liang Yu and said, "I still need to take action, kid. You owe me a favor. The cost of this ascent is really high." After speaking, the light of the golden card gradually emitted divine power, and then faded away. Of course, Liang Yu, who had already given up, closed his eyes in despair, let go of his thoughts, and did not hear Leviathan's self-talk. The surrounding schools of fish surrounded and began to swim along the vortex, with the water surface even becoming twisted at such a fast speed, and the center of the vortex became a black dot. After the wooden box disappeared, the fish school dissipated and returned to its former tranquility. The villagers only regarded this as a vision of the destroyed evil god, and soon they all dispersed. On the beach of Wuhai Port, the ground was covered in wooden crate fragments, as well as falling cloth strips that washed into the shore with the tide. With this place in chaos, there is also a young man wearing some clothes and wrapped in cloth strips. A scissor-shaped necklace reflects sunlight and emits a brilliant blue light. At this moment, a blonde girl wearing a pirate uniform passed by, waving a machete around in her hand. Suddenly, she was attracted by the light of the necklace and was stunned when she saw the figures on the ground. She observed around the young man, not daring to approach easily. Suddenly, the red-bearded young man behind her said to her, "Ivy trainee, do you remember what Captain Blackbeard said?" The blonde girl immediately smiled and replied, "Of course, when we reach our territory, those who don't have a murderous heart are our friends." At this point, the blonde girl waved her hand to the boy on the ground and whispered, "Hello, friend." After speaking, the two picked up the young man and walked towards the distant stronghold. Chapter 9. Warm Pirates. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Hey, old man with blue beard, don't you understand everything? Why can't you cure this person? I am a ship builder, not a human builder. Don't you still know how to build a fully automatic fish catching machine, a fully automatic feeding machine, and this strange machine? Can you build a fully automatic rehabilitation machine? You two little bunnies, you didn't save him yet. Why don't you guys take action and have me, an old man, study? Isn't that impossible, ha ha ha. That's right, isn't it that you're skilled? I'll trouble you. You two kids. Hey, the fishing plan is brewing soup again. Liang Yu slowly opened his eyes, feeling unfamiliar with the environment in front of him. Where is this? Liang Yu pondered over the things that had happened to him before and said in confusion, "Didn't I die under the rapids?" Thinking of this, Liang Yu scratched his head and confirmed that he was still alive. "Oh my, Senior Oliver, Captain Blackbeard has ordered that you cannot fish. That old man with a black beard, no matter what he does, is so angry with me. The thought of him hiding the fishing rod for me makes me angry. Fortunately, I can still do it. Upon hearing the sound of speaking, Liang You struggled to turn his head over. I saw a blonde girl and a young man with a red beard tightly surrounding an old man with a blue beard. If you ask why you can see a beard even when facing away, that can only be blamed on their beards being really too big. Their length has long exceeded the range of their cheeks. On the nearby windowsill, a peculiar black bird turned its head to look at the awakened Liang Yu and let out a burst of fear. Everyone turned around when they heard this shout. The blonde girl asked, "Mr. Water, what's wrong? Are you hungry?" The young man with a red beard on the side pushed the blonde girl and signaled her awakening with his eyes. The blonde girl exclaimed, "You kid, finally woke up." She walked up with a smile and said to Liang Yu, "Let me tell you, if it weren't for my exceptional eyesight in discovering you lying on the beach, your life would be in danger. Let me tell you." She described the scene as she spoke. The young man with a red beard on the side said helplessly, I've started packaging myself again." The blonde girl said displeasedly, "No, I don't know. If I had found out he was some sleazy man with a red beard at the time, would I have taken a detour and walked away?" "You." The young man with a red beard wanted to continue refuting angrily, but was interrupted by the old man with a blue beard beside him. Then he calmly said, all right, stop making trouble. You two little bunnies are really bothersome." I couldn't help but laugh out loud as I watched the words and actions of the three people, coupled with their comical looks. Ha! Hiss! Ah! But it doesn't matter if I don't laugh. As soon as I smile, I pull on the wound and the piercing sensation makes me scream out loud. The old man with a blue beard quickly stepped forward and helped, saying, "Kid, I see you belong to humans. Why did you come to our fog bay? It's so far from the nearest human tribe here." "Human tribe? Where is this?" Liang Yu feels a bit foggy. "Look, this injury is not light. The shipwreck he encountered looks quite serious. It's a pitiful child." The young man with a red beard whispered to the blonde girl. The blonde girl was lost in thought. Then he said to the old man with a blue beard, "Oliver, I don't think it's time to ask this question now. I've seen several human races outside looking for caves, minerals, and so on. Ask them if they have anyone who studies medicine." The old man with a blue beard thought of this and said, "They have been setting off for several days now. It seems that you have been playing for too long and don't even understand such things. How can you become a great pirate? The news is not well received." The blonde girl was about to explain when suddenly a deep voice interrupted him. "This human kid should be able to recover after resting for a few days." The speaker was an uncle with a black beard and a massive pirate figure. I saw him holding a pipe with a solemn expression on his face. "Why? Is it difficult for this kid to heal magic?" The young man with a red beard exclaimed in confusion, "Why didn't I notice?" As he spoke, he turned his surprised gaze to Liang Yu, trying to find some clues on his body. Liang Yu was coldly stared at by his gaze, and his hands unconsciously blocked in front of him, saying, "I think, indeed, as this uncle said, I feel like I just need to rest for a while, hee." Saying it's cool, you nodded at Uncle Blackbeard. The blonde girl burst out laughing, "Ha ha ha. Uncle. Ha ha ha." After laughing for a while, she stopped and explained, "He's our captain, Henry Bellot. You can call him Captain Henry, and don't call him Uncle in the future. If he gets angry, he will lock you up for 3 days." After hearing this, Liang Yu quickly said, "Captain Henry, I'm sorry. My name is Liang Yu, please take good care of me." After listening, Captain Henry waved his hand in signal to respond. Then he turned his head to look at Ivy. "Ivy trainee, do you want to be imprisoned again?" The blonde girl retorted, "I'm not." Before she could finish speaking, Captain Henry, the Blackbeard, signaled to the red-beard youth to take the blonde girl down. Ivy, a trainee, openly slandered and mocked the powerful captain, and was fined 3 days imprisonment. The captain said so. Yes. Follow the captain's instructions. The young man with a red beard smiled and agreed. I saw the young man with a red beard pushing the blonde girl and laughing at her, saying, "Ivy trainee, goodbye in 3 days, ha ha ha." The blonde girl looked at me pitifully as she was being pushed and pushed, trying to seek help from me. I couldn't bear to say, "Well, Captain Henry, I see she's just." The captain waved to me not to say anything more. He whistled and the black bird that was originally standing by the window flew onto Captain Henry's arm. Captain Henry looked at the black bird. Turning to me, he said, "Don't be too kind to anyone. This is how I teach my subordinates. Rules are iron and cannot be violated." After speaking, he paused and pointed to the black bird, saying, "This is the water ancestor Black Wings. Everyone respects him because he has always been diligent and responsible." After finishing speaking, the conversation changed and he continued, "It's not like a blue-beard sea technician who claims to be omnipotent, constantly tinkering with his brand new fishing rod." As he spoke, he looked at the old man with a blue beard. The old man with a blue beard awkwardly smiled and replied, "Well, this is entertainment, entertainment." Then the old man with a blue beard immediately said to me, "My name is Oliver Quinn. You can call me Oliver Sr. from now on." Liang You immediately replied, "My name is Liang You." Oliver responded after listening. Then he looked at me and the captain and continued, "Well, I have something to do and I'll leave first. My ship has hemorrhoids, so I'll fix it for him." After speaking, he left as if fleeing. Captain Henry shook his head helplessly and said to me, "Please rest for a while, and when you recover in a few days, remember to help the dock. Don't come and go empty-handed." Liang Yu arched his hand and said, "Don't worry, Captain Henry. I have been living at the dock since I was young, and I have designated someone who can help you. Liang Yu has always shown kindness and gratitude, and I will definitely repay your life-saving kindness." Captain Henry smiled and said, "You're quite generous, kid." After speaking, he took out a few medicinal herbs from his pocket and threw them to me, then walked towards the door. As he walked, he said, "This is the medicine I asked for from the group of adventurers. It will be your wages. I will inform you when they come back." After saying goodbye, he waved his hand and gently closed the door. I looked at the medicine in my arms and thought to myself, these pirates who look somewhat human and somewhat demonic are quite interesting, just take a break first. Rest, yes, rest. Thinking about it, perhaps too tired, Liang Yu slowly fell asleep with the sound of the sea breeze. Chapter 10. Setting Sail, A New Journey. You are listening at novelfull.audio. This is, where? I'm not. Liang Yu looked around at the scene, feeling familiar. I'm not in Fog Bay. Cool Swim murmured while walking on the wet and muddy ground, as if it had just been a rainstorm. In front of Liang Yu's eyes, gradually emerged figures condensed into black shadows. As his face gradually became clearer, Liang Yu was surprised to find that these faces were exactly those of the villagers at the dock at the time. Without waiting for Liang Yu to think more, those black shadows slowly spoke up. "Do you know that everything we have is thanks to you?" The shadows all pointed to the Cool Swim. "You are a demon. A demon." Upon seeing the familiar scene, Liang Yu couldn't help but cover his head and try to resist the sound in this way. But this sound kept echoing in his mind, one shock at a time, as if it was about to shatter his head. Liang Yu muttered to himself in pain. Why? Why? I'm not a demon. I'm not a demon. I'm not. Liang Yu shouted hysterically, but the shadows remained unmoved and continued to gather. Don't argue anymore, you are a complete demon. It was you who brought disaster to your family. You killed your family. As they spoke, everyone pointed their fingers towards Liang Yu. At this moment, Liang Yu seemed to have become the culprit pointed out by thousands of people, and all the accusations against him seemed to be their cries of pain for Liang Yu. I'm not. No, I'm not a demon. Liang Yu shook his hand as he spoke, trying to keep the shadows away. The faces of the shadows gradually became clearer, each with a ferocious smile. He also said that you are not a demon, but you have awakened Yumenggang, a friend of demons, who is a demon. You have harmed all your compatriots, it is you who have killed your family. Their deaths are all because of you. In the face of criticism from everyone, at this moment, the last line of defense in Liang Yu's heart seemed to collapse. I'm not. I'm a demon. Liang Yu suspected geology and asked himself. Is it me? Did I kill my family? Was it me? Hey. Are you sleeping well, kid? Liang Yu's thoughts were interrupted, and a female voice pulled him back to reality. You sleep here, providing delicious food and drinks, while I am bored in the confinement room and can only draw circles on the ground. Liang Yu regained his senses and took a closer look. It turned out to be the blonde female trainee Ivy. He spoke slowly and said, You. Aren't you the blonde pirate named Fog Bay? Ivy looked at Liang Yu with a silly look in her eyes and spoke lightly, Yes, it's me. What's wrong? Liang Yu hesitated and said, I've already returned. Ivy said angrily, Back. Back to what? Back a few days ago, I definitely won't save you. Imprisonment. It's very torturous. After speaking, don't forget to stomp your feet. Liang Yu can tell that this lady is very angry. I immediately wanted to tease her. Before Liang Yu could speak, he noticed a sound coming. Aren't you already used to it, Ivy trainee? Behind Avril came the voice of the young man teasing. The young man with a red beard smiled and said, There are always 3 out of 7 days when you squat in the confinement room. Those who don't know think you just live in the confinement room. Faced with the teasing of the young man with a red beard, Ai Wei responded angrily. Mr. Alexander, a navigator, please respect women, okay? Alexander smiled and said, You're still young and don't need respect. After speaking, he hooked his red beard and felt proud. You. Ivy stomped her foot angrily, then remained silent and went away sulking. Alexander ignored her and just smiled before turning his head to me and saying, Mr. Liang Yu, you should be in much better condition now, right? Liang Yu tried to stand up from the boat and stomped his feet, as if there was no more pain. He said, after a period of recuperation and the medicine gifted by the captain, it's much better now. Thank you very much for your help. Alexander smiled and waved his hand, saying, Our great maritime thieves have always been like this. After speaking, he quickly explained, Don't look at us claiming to be pirates or anything like pirates. The villagers around us still admire us very much. It's all because of Captain Henry, who influenced us. Speaking, Alexander couldn't help but show a look of admiration. Liang Yu asked in confusion, What kind of person is the captain you mentioned in your heart? Alexander seemed to be waiting for this sentence and quickly said, Our captain is a very kind person. Although he is very strong and has a somewhat fierce appearance on his face, he has always been tolerant and not very strict with his subordinates. He also shows great care towards his subordinates who hold small positions. Alexander stepped directly on the chair and continued, Do you remember when Captain Henry was on patrol, he rescued me and my family who were surrounded by other evil pirates at the time. He held a musket in his left hand, and with just one shot, it opened the leader's head. A group of miscellaneous soldiers were so frightened that they dared not continue to move forward. As he spoke, Alexander gestured in the air as if he were Captain Henry at the time. His crew rushed forward directly, and those evil pirates were frightened and overwhelmed by the battle, fleeing in despair. It's also the first time I've seen such a brave pirate and such a cohesive group. At that time, I was thinking that I must join this glorious group. After he finished speaking, he tugged at his red headscarf and proudly said, So, I became a proud member of the pirate crew, and even became an official and navigator. Well, thanks to the captain's discerning eyes, he saw my brave and strategic personality. Ah, yes, there is courage in strategy, cut. I won't say anything about you begging Captain Henry to take you away with tears and a runny nose. Ivy behind her spoke disdainfully, her indifferent expression still not blocking her cheerful tone. Alexander saw his scandal exposed and quickly said, "Brother Liang You, don't listen to his nonsense." As she spoke, she tried to block Avril's mouth with her hand, trying to make her shut up. Ivy struggled as she shouted, "What nonsense?" Sob. This is clearly what Senior Oliver said. Sob. I saw it with my own eyes. Alexander blocked Avril's mouth while laughing and said, "Brother Liang You, this Avril has been imprisoned for 3 days and likes to talk nonsense. Don't take it to heart." Liang Yu looked at their behavior and said with a smile, okay, understand. But Liang Yu had already burst out laughing in his heart. Alexander smiled and responded, "If it's okay, we'll leave first. You can find us at the dock, Brother Liang Yu. Let's take a step first." After speaking, he was ready to push Avril away. Ivy struggled and shouted, "Hypocrisy. Alexander. You are so hypocritical. It's just you." Sob. Woo. Bang. With the crisp sound of the door closing, the two finally left, leaving only Liang Yu in the room. Liang Yu smiled and thought to himself, "You are really two interesting people." Liang Yu looked out the window at the sea, pondering in his heart. It seems that this sea thief is still a harmonious and loving big family, quite righteous. Liang Yu picked up the tea cup on the table and poured himself a glass of water, continuing to ponder in his heart. Since I can't go back for now, let's go to the dock to help first, and discuss the rest later. With this in mind, Liang Yu drank all the tea in his cup and then placed it on the table. "Let's go see at the dock," Liang Yu murmured softly. After finishing speaking, he pushed the door open and closed it casually.